Hello. My name is Lacie Messerly of Messy Quilts, and I am so excited to be part of the Spring Fling event with the Grace Company this year. Welcome to my studio. It's a little chaotic. I have been quilting for about 10 years. I was traditionally taught in 2015, and over the last couple years, I really have been drawn to the modern aesthetic and have learned many new techniques, and I'm so excited to be here today to show you how to use a product called the Easy Piecing Grid. But before we get into that, I wanted to chat about what project we're doing and why I came up with it. As you've noticed, each of the ambassadors has chosen an earth element to represent the project that they are working on. I chose the water element, and when I first found out that I was doing the water element, I thought about what I could do and what I could make and what inspires me surrounding water. And I came back to, blues, and then I started thinking about, what water really means to me, and I just kept getting drawn to lakes and rivers and waterfalls and nature and that feeling that you have in the springtime with rain and flowers blooming and everything around that. And so I came up with this project. I am calling it Singing in the Rain because I love springtime and I love the rain and the earthy smell. So we are going to be making this today. I'm calling it Singing in the Rain, and it's a pixelated quilt using, like I said, the Easy Piecing Grid. We're going to go more into how to use the Easy Piecing Grid. This is a one panel project, and it's really easy to put together in an afternoon. And so the next 3 segments, we're going to go through how this works, and I'm excited for you to join me. The Easy Piecing Grid was made by a woman named Carmen Geddes here in Utah, which she was actually used to be my neighbor, which is pretty cool. And it helps make pixelated quilts. Today we are doing a one panel project, but you can absolutely make bigger quilts as you get used to the product. And so I'm going to give you a crash course on what the product is, chat about it, and then we'll jump right into our project. So for this project, there is a list down below of everything that you need. Specifically that you need is fabrics, contrasting colors. It's best to have your background fabric a little bit different than the rest of your fabric. Your fabrics, your Easy Piecing Grid, and we're going to talk about how you can get those. The link for everything is in the description. The person who made the Easy Piecing Grid and developed it years ago, her name is Carmen Geddes. She has a website called 10sisters.com, and yes, she did actually have 10 sisters, where you can find all of her information and how to get these Easy Piecing Grids. So we're going to go ahead and talk about what these look like and how to use them. So when you order the packages, they will look like this. You will only need one panel for the project we're doing today. You can absolutely have leftovers in your stash for another time. If you want to do another wall hanging, I can show you another example of other wall hangings I've done with the Easy Piecing Grid, or you can share with your friends, absolutely. They come in 6, 12, and 20 packs, so go ahead and grab yourself a 6-pack. There is a link in the description straight to her store that you can go ahead and get that ordered. And then also alongside the quantity, there's different sizes. So this size was made using 2-inch finished squares, making it this big. You can see how big it is next to me. And you can do any pattern using any size. The sizes for the Easy Piecing Grid come in 2-inch, 1.5-inch finished, 1-inch finished, all the way down to 1/2-inch finished. So the squares end in 1/2 inch. So it would be really, really tiny. They look like this. This is what the panels look like. Let me grab. The panels look like this. And again, you only need one panel for the project we're doing today. It's a very lightweight product. It's a lot like a dryer sheet. There is a bumpy side on one side and a smooth side on the other side. And I don't know if you can see, maybe not, there is a grid printed directly on to the onto the interfacing. And so when you receive your product, what you'll do is you'll cut them all apart, and then we're going to just use one piece. As I mentioned before, this one is using 2-inch finish, so it's a little bit bigger. For today's project, we are going to be using the 1.5-inch finished easy piecing grid. So it's this big. It'll shrink down once we sew it. 1.5-inch finished product you need to cut your squares at 2 inches, which is actually why I really love the 1.5-inch finished, because there's not really any mathing. And we'll get to that in a minute. So this is what the panels look like. And we're gonna put that together here in segment 2. Before we get to the picking of your fabrics, I want to show you other things that you can do using the easy piecing grid. We've made this Joy wall hanging, which is really cute. This is also 1.5-inch finished. So cute. And that's just one panel, which is so fun. And then also one of my very, very favorites is this cute little wall hanging. And you can find all of these patterns on 10sisters.com. She does have some free patterns, one panel free patterns. Also, as you get into using this product a little bit more, you can fuse your panels together and make an entire quilt. It's actually really, really fun. All of her online sources have how to use easy piecing grid. If you want to refer to her website, she has videos online. And as always, I'm available. If you have any questions, just email me at messyquilts.com, and I would love to reach out and help you. Okay, so for this project, we need about a fat quarter of a background color, your rain color, your pole on your umbrella, and your umbrella color. And feel free to use all the scraps for this. It's a great scrap buster. An easy piecing grid, your rotary cutter, a little pair of scissors is helpful, and obviously your ruler. And as I mentioned before, you can absolutely do this this project on a smaller scale. So like I said, this is a 1/2-inch finished grid, and you can see the squares are just like so tiny. You can make the same pattern, just a smaller version of it. So we're going to set this aside for now and cut our squares. And feel free to have fun with these fabrics, right? Like, get your scraps out, make a black umbrella, make something fun. It's really great. You can absolutely just take your squares, since you don't need very many. The description has how many squares you need of each. I think there's 9 yellows. For sure, you can absolutely take your ruler and cut it down. I, however, have, I use the easy piecing grid quite a bit. So I invested in this ruler called the Stripology ruler. And I'm not sure if you've seen this online before. It's called the Stripology ruler. You can get it on Amazon. It's one of my favorites. And essentially what it does, it has slits in your ruler all the way down. This is a big reason why I really love the 1.5-inch finished easy piecing grid, because I'm going to cut my squares at 2. You need a 1/2 inch more than the square, to allow for seam allowances. So I've got my 2 lined up here. I'm going to line up my line here and my line here. This is going to be my selvage piece, and we're going to cut. There's notches on each side. And cut the selvage, and then we're going to go 2, 4. We'll probably just do 2 strips for this one, because we don't need a lot of the yellow for the umbrella pole. And we're going to go this way, and then we're going to go this way. Okay, now we're going to go the other way. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then you can see, we'll get rid of these little selvage pieces. And now you can see I've got a stack of squares. It goes so fast. For these one panel projects, you don't necessarily need the stripology ruler. You know, they can get spendy for sure. Another investment, right? But if you get to where you're making quilts, lots of quilts, then you would probably want to invest in one of these. So now we're going to go the other way. I'm just going to cut a couple more of these. I'm going to go 2, 4, 6. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I would love to answer any questions you have about this process. Okay, now we're going to go this way. The easy piecing grid is so fun. Okay, now we're going to go scoot over a tiny bit. Cut our selvage off here. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think the umbrella needs 39 pieces. So again, scraps are great for this. I did have to get a fat quarter for the background, but if you have white, have fun with the colors. All right, so I think we're ready on our squares. Okay, we just got done cutting our fabric and it's only segment 1. Segment 1 was very much instructional and not a lot of actual doing. I fully am aware of that. But for segments 2 and 3, we're going to be diving in and actually going through and finishing our project. The easy piecing grid is definitely a lot of learning at the beginning and then finishing towards the end. It's a very much hands-on project, so make sure you get your easy piecing grid to do this project. Let me know if you have any questions. I would love to help you, and I cannot wait to see what you create, and we will see you back on segment 2. All right, welcome back to part 2 of the easy piecing grid, making Singing in the Rain. Just a reminder, we are going to be making this today using the easy piecing grid. So fun. I am set up here. Got my panel. I have a towel underneath here. You can obviously do this on the iron. This is a little bit easier so you can see what I'm doing. We are going to make sure that our bumpy side is up. If our bumpy side is not up, you will stick your panel to your ironing board. That's a no-go. You don't want that. Again, it's very similar to t-shirt quilting material. And so you just want to make sure that the bumpy side is up. In the description, there is the pattern for this quilt, wall hanging. And it's pretty straightforward, if you ask me. There's a lot of things you can do with this easy piecing grid. Carmen does sell these books that are available online as well. And you can just see here, as you get used to using the easy piecing grid, you can even get into making full quilts, which is really kind of fun. So these are what the patterns look like. She's got books online. For today, the pattern is available down below in the description. My printer doesn't have ink, so doesn't have color ink. So go ahead and print off your paper in the description. And essentially what we are going to be doing is our top left square here, up here, top left square is going to match our top left grid box. Okay, it's very similar to paint by number. So I know that this first top left corner is blue. So we are going to place blue. And then the next one in line, you can see, is white. And essentially what you're doing is filling in the blanks. you're filling in the squares. The grid has a grid printed on it. As long as the square is inside of the square, then it'll sew perfectly. Okay, and then we're going to do blue. And you're going to work your way down this panel. Let's see. Yeah, I'm actually going to I'm going to put the blue in first. And you're just going to count rows and numbers and work your way down. Put this guy here. It's actually really calming. Get a book on tape. That one goes here. Okay, and then now we're going to fill in this white. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Often people ask, what about half square triangles? As you remember on our pumpkin patch, there were half square triangles on the pattern. You need to make your half square triangles the finished size of this square. So if your panel is 1.5 inches finished, your squares need to be 2 inches. Let's see, this one goes here. Which means that your half square triangles need to be finished at 2 inches. All right, and we're down on the 4th row. So now we're gonna add our yellow right in the middle here for our umbrella. And as long as your half square triangles fit in the box and your corners are edge to edge, then everything lines up. It truly is magic. Okay, we're gonna move along here. Let's see, 2 there, 2 here on this side. It doesn't have to be perfect, I promise. I always say that the grid is perfect. Our squares might not be perfect. If your square is a little bit not totally straight, that's totally fine. Okay, we're gonna add, okay, so now I'm gonna show you this. So I've done this section up here, and now I'm gonna add my pink. And it really is just paint by number. So I'll get this first row, and then I'll show you how to iron this on. We're going to go this row. The easy piecing grid is great for scrap busting. You can do a full quilt of just scraps. You don't even need to have a plan. You just place it and go. All right, we're going to stop here. Okay, now typically what I do is I will iron this section first and then move it down, because you can see we have to go all the way to the bottom. So I've got my hot iron right here. You need to be careful with this. This onto here will stick. So when I iron this, I really go slow. You need to also press. Patience is a virtue in this part. Okay, so we're going to iron. Just line it up right here on this corner so that you don't get any of the grid on your iron. It does happen. It has happened. Iron cleaner takes it right off. A dryer sheet also takes it off. Okay, I'm just going to move along here. Just making sure that you don't get off the edges. If you have this guy, this one right here is not totally straight. So I am going to, you can peel them off pretty easily. So I'm just going to pull him and reset him. Okay, I'm just going to work over. Got a little bit wiggly here. All the way to the edge. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I typically do this on my ironing board so that, but this works fine. Okay, so now you can see that they stay on. How cool is this? Totally just, it doesn't move. Okay, now we're gonna move down and continue to go. All right, you can see that our panel is ironed on. All of our squares are ironed on. These will go away. But you've noticed that some of the squares aren't even, and that is totally fine. We are ready to start sewing. So meet me over at the sewing machine. Alrighty, let's do this. It's the best part. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory from here. What we are going to do is we have all of our pieces on our easy piecing grid, right? Now we're gonna take this product vertically. I like to do long edges first. Oh, you can see that one isn't straight either. That's okay. Long edges first. So vertically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our panel and we're gonna fold it over just like this. And you will see there's a dotted line right there. You just wanna make sure it's straight. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew our 1/4 inch all the way down this row. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in. And let her rock. I think I forgot to mention there's no pins in this project. Okay, so that's our first row. All right, now we're gonna go down to the second row. I like to have my unfinished pieces on the left side, finished pieces on the top. Now we're gonna fold it our second row. And we just need to make sure that this doesn't fold underneath itself. Okay, and we're gonna sew our second row. Row 2. And now you can probably assume what we're doing next. We're gonna go all the way down this row. So meet me back here when all the rows are done. Alrighty, that step's done. Meet me back here to finish our project. Thanks for joining me at part 2 for our easy piecing grid. Don't forget, come back on our 3rd segment and we can finish it up and I can show you how to put it all together. Welcome back to our last segment for the easy piecing grid. You've seen the whole process of how to put this together, and now let's just finalize it, put a bow on it, and we'll finish it up now. Okay, welcome back to my makeshift ironing board today. But this next step, you need these tiny little scissors. I like the tiny little scissors. You can use normal scissors, but these are great. They're actually eyebrow scissors. So we'll grab our project. We've sewn it one way, as you can see, 1/4 inch all the way down. But before we can sew this way, we need to do one step. We need to clip, it's called clip our intersections. And you can see on this, on each line, what we're gonna do is take our little scissors and we are going to clip right at the seam line, all the way down on each one. Now this is a good project to do in front of the TV. You're gonna clip right to the line. If you do clip the seam, the thread, it's totally fine. It'll work out. Everything works out. Am I right? Everything's fixable. Sometimes I make my husband do this too. Just gonna work our way all the way across. That's why I like these little scissors, is they are just tiny, tiny, tiny. Alrighty. Now all my intersections are snipped, but before we can sew, one more step. This is probably, the snipping and the ironing are the most tedious parts for this project. We need to iron again. So grab a little spray bottle of starch. We're gonna get a little bit damp. Steam works too on your iron, or a little water bottle works great. Grab your iron, and what we're gonna do is we're going to iron our rows left and right. So I'm gonna iron it this way. Let's see, a little bit closer. There we go. Iron it one way, and then what I do is I fold it under itself, and then I can iron this top one the other way. The first one's kind of the tricky one, because when you iron this one, so I'm ironing this seam down nice and flat. You do need to be patient on this part. I tend to go a little bit too fast, and my squares and seams aren't as flat as I want them to be. So just take your time. I'm gonna fold it over itself, and now we're gonna go this way. Left and right. You can see that it's ironed down. Okay, now we're going to go this way. And you can automatically see and notice that our seams are nesting. I'll show you a close up here in a second. A nice good press. This is what we're going for. A really beautiful nested, no pin to go the other way. So let's iron this down and we'll go back to the sewing machine and finish it up. All right, we are finished ironing. We're done ironing. At this point, you can also trim this off. You could trim this off before you snipped your intersections too, just to get out of the way. You don't need it. You do need this extra piece if you're making a quilt though. So refer to 10sisters.com on how to do a full quilt. But for the purpose of this little one panel, you don't need these extra pieces. Alrighty, let's go finish it up over at the machine. You can probably guess where we are going from here. So we have sewn vertically, we've trimmed our seams right there, our intersections, and we have ironed our intersections back and forth. And as you can imagine, you know where we're going. We're going to fold it this way, and now we're going to sew a 1/4 inch. And I'll tell you what, those seams are nested all the way down. So let's get to it. We're going to do it the exact same way as we did it the other way. We're going to keep the bottom, your unfinished on the bottom, and your finished will roll through the top. Like that. And we're going to go the other way. When I get about halfway done, sometimes I will flip it over the other way and put my finished side on that side and then roll it through the other way. Up to you. Whatever feels most comfortable. Okay, let's go back to our ironing board. Okay, we are finished with our top, and you can see it is much smaller than the last one I made. But from here, we'll do our last step, and we're going to do one final press. You can see the easy piecing grid is in here. You do not take this piecing grid out of this panel. It actually stitches and quilts right into your quilt. The long arm quilts with easy piecing grid all the time, and it is just fine. So we're going to do one really good spray on the back here, give it a little bit of pliability. And we're just going to give it a little stretch. Grab your iron and just do one final press. All the seams can go one way. It doesn't need to be anything special. I'm going to iron it all the way down. I also get pretty impatient with this part, so just make sure you really give it a good press. Your long armers will love you. I'm almost finished here. You can see how it's just nicely laying flat now. And then finally, I like to flip it over one more time. Give it a good spray, and just give it one more press. Thanks for joining me today during Spring Fling with the Grace Company. I cannot wait to see what you make using the Easy Piecing Grid. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at messyquilts or messyquilts.com. Also, all the information is in the description for 10 Sisters, books, projects, anything you want, it's online. Can't wait to see you again.